Hello, I'm Duncan Green, and this is the LSE series of short videos on influencing. In this video, I want to talk about private or insider tactics. The aim of this video is to overview the range of tactics that can be used in this insider private space, but also to stress one particular thing: the importance of understanding the point of view of the other. PoVO is the acronym in insider influencing. Now, when you're trying to work in these closed, invited spaces we talked about in the video on the Power Cube, it's going to be very important to find the right allies, coalitions, and messengers. Unless you're lucky enough to be a powerful actor in your own right, it's going to be who you know and who you go along with that's going to make the difference. But how do you do that? It requires very good intel, deep curiosity and understanding of the system, a massive network of relationships and trust, constantly building those networks and that trust, and then choosing the right framing, getting the right message, the right narrative to maintain the coalition and influence the target. The way you describe the problem, the way you describe the solution, absolutely crucial in these insider advocacy exercises. And finally, spotting and seizing windows of opportunity. When a crisis happens, when there's a change of leadership, when there's a scandal, does that suddenly open up a space for you to raise your issue? A lot of this is about knowing yourself and knowing your targets. That acronym I mentioned right at the outset, point of view of the other, PoVO. How will they see you? Are you or your organization credible on this issue? If not, then who is? Have you done your homework? Do you know the issues as well as they do, or better? If you say stupid stuff, you've lost their trust. How do you build those relationships, spend time with people, and then active listening? There's something that my wife accuses me of, which is not really listening, but just waiting to talk, waiting till the other person finishes so that you can talk. You've actually got to actively listen to see what they're saying and what they mean underneath what they're saying, and then avoid the lecturing, the finger wagging. I love this cartoon, two peasants saying he spoke truth to power and look what happened to him. So I think these are some of the emotional literacy skills that you need for insider influencing. A lot of this work is done through coalitions, or one piece of jargon used to describe it, multi-stakeholder work, where you bring together stakeholders from different parts of the system. So I worked at something called the Ethical Trading Initiative. I was on the board there for many years, and they brought together NGOs like Oxfam and CAFOD, where I worked, the trade unions, and big companies, supermarkets and garment companies, to try and work on labor rights standards together. So they had a common problem and a common normative framework, which was we all believed in labor rights. But that was just the start. It was very difficult to work together. People had very different cultures. It took a while to build trust. The key skills in all this was empathy, likability, just making people like you, not behaving like an idiot, not doing the finger wagging thing. But you also want a little bit of creative tension. It's not about being somebody thinking of you as their friend. They need to be a little bit worried about what you're going to do. Trust building is an important result of those kind of conversations, but then also recognizing that in something like the Ethical Trading Initiative, all companies are different. There are leaders, there are laggards. Understanding that system and how you work with different players is crucial to insider influencing. So a while ago, I wrote a paper with one of the best insider influencers I've met, a woman called Anna MacDonald, who worked on something called the Arms Trade Treaty some years ago now, the Control Arms Campaign, launched in 2003. And we wrote a paper which described this massive exercise in combined insider-outsider influencing, which resulted in a global treaty on small arms. It started off with very few governments, only 3 supported it. But they used this combination of insider-outsider. They targeted champions in each region. They used those critical junctures, of which there are all far too many, unfortunately, when it comes to use of small arms. And by 2014, a decade later, it was a long slog, it became international law. And now it has over 140 signatories. So how did that happen? Well, you'll need to read the paper for the full details, but stamina was really important. Keeping that going for a decade, having people involved from the beginning who could pass on knowledge to new arrivals. Crucial focus on unusual allies. The Control Arms campaign had war correspondents, retired generals. They even had arms companies supportive of having, because they felt they were doing things more ethically than their competitors. You have to know your people. You have to know your stuff. Treaties are complicated things. Conventions are complicated things. What is required in the text to get the results you need? And then know your process. How are these negotiations going to happen? And then finally, leadership. And I put up a joke picture of a rhino there. Anna has a tattoo of a rhino on her arm from a conservation project she has funded for many years in Kenya. But I think maybe also a reference to just how determined she is when she wants something. And I think it's that sort of never give up, never accept defeat form of leadership is really necessary in some of these processes. And finally, an example about the importance of the messenger, not just the message. So there's a fantastic series of documentaries about the conflict in the Arctic between Greenpeace and the Russian government. And it's called On Thin Ice. There's a particular moment when Putin's government arrested, I think, 30 Greenpeace activists. They were in jail. They didn't know what to do. And they discovered that Vladimir Putin, is a Beatles fan. And they got Paul McCartney to write to him and say, Vladimir, please could you do something about this? I might even come and play in Moscow if you do. And that was a crucial part of getting those people out of jail. So if you want to, I can't think of a better example of the importance of finding the right messenger.